Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the book of Joshua. We've been looking at chapter 22 for the last few days, and today we wrap up the chapter. We're looking at verses 30 through 34. Remember, they almost came to civil war in Israel because the tribes on the east side of the Jordan, that's Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, had built an altar at the Jordan River. The tribes in the Promised Land proper, the other 9.5 tribes, considered that a betrayal of the covenant and were prepared to go to war for their building another altar. But when they asked for an explanation, the tribes in Gilead on the east side of the Jordan said, we never intended it to be a worship center. No, it's only a memorial as a reminder that we also belong to the covenant people. That resolved the conflict. And notice how the chapter ends. Now when Phinehas the priest and the leaders of the community, the heads of the clans of Israel, heard what Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh had to say, they were pleased. And Phinehas, son of Eleazar the priest, said to Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, "Today we know that the Lord is with us, because you have not been unfaithful to the Lord in this matter. Now you have rescued the Israelites from the Lord's hand." So they realized that the tribes on the east side of the Jordan had never intended to be unfaithful. They had not created a rival altar, only a memorial, a reminder of who they were. And all Israel was happy. The conflict, the misunderstanding, was resolved. So Phinehas, the son of Eleazar the priest, and the leaders returned to Canaan from their meeting with the Reubenites and the Gadites in Gilead that reported everything to the Israelites. They were glad to hear the report, and they praised God. And they talked no more about going to war against them to devastate the country where the Reubenites and the Gadites lived. What a wonderful moment when this misunderstanding, which had led to conflict, was resolved. They all talked, they came to understand each other, and they rejoiced that unity had been restored. It was a wonderful time in the life of Israel. And it's also kind of an example for us of how to resolve conflict within the family of God. Sometimes we have differences of opinion, sometimes misunderstandings. But instead of arguing at each other or distancing ourselves from each other, it's so important to come together and to talk and to make sure we truly understand where we all stand. And when we do that, almost always unity can be resolved, as it was in Israel. And notice the wonderful way that the chapter ends. So the Reubenites and the Gadites gave the altar this name, a witness between us that the Lord is God. So the altar stood as a reminder, a testimony, a witness that the Lord, He is God. Only He is God, and we will worship only Him. The Lord alone, He is God. You know, that's sort of a reflection of the first commandment, is it not? You shall have no other gods before me. And so Israel had testified once again, the Lord, He alone is God. The Lord, He alone will be our God. So now we're ready to move to the very last part of the book of Joshua. Chapters 23 and 24 are the concluding parts of the book, and they give us Joshua's farewell to the people, his farewell address, his farewell charge to the people. He has led them for so many years. For so many years, he was the right hand of Moses. And then after Moses died, of course, Joshua took over and led them into the Promised Land. And so now they're in possession of the Promised Land. The land has been given to them. They divided it among the tribes. They're settling down to live there. Joshua knows that his earthly sojourn is almost over. So in chapters 23 and 24, he calls the people together to give his last address to the people, his final charge as their leader. So chapters 23 and 24 are Joshua's final words to the people of Israel. He's going to encourage them and inspire them and charge them to stay true to God as they live as God's people in the Promised Land. So join us next time as we begin looking at chapters 23 and then 24, Joshua's farewell address to the people of Israel.